Good morning, children. Today I am going to talk to you about the public health standards, Indian public health standards for the PHCs. You had already idea about, you were taught about the subcenter IPHS guidelines, and you have an idea what IPHS means, why it is essential. Still, I'll try to touch a few points today also. And coming to the primary health center concept, it is not new. We had started it, in fact, even before 1948. The Boer Committee in 1946, the concept was given by them as a basic health unit for providing health services as close to the people as possible. And the system should be, the PHC system should be an integrated curative and preventive healthcare to the rural population with emphasis on preventive and promotive aspects of healthcare. The sixth five-year plan, that is between 83 to 88, proposed reorganization of PHCs on the basis of one PHC for a population of 30,000 rural population in the plains and one PHC for every 20,000 population in the areas where the tribal population is more, the deserts and the hilly areas. This will help give us a chance for effective coverage. However, as the population density in the country is not uniform, the number of PHCs would depend upon the caseload. PHCs should become functional for round the clock with provision of 27/4 nursing care. As we all know, PHCs are serving the most remotest areas also. They are the cornerstone of rural health services, and it is the first port of call to a qualified doctor of the public sector in the rural areas for the sick and those who directly report or referred from subcenters for curative, preventive and promotive health care. It acts as a referral unit for 6 subcenters. That is, under each PHC we have 6 subcenters, and refer out cases to community health centers. CHCs is the first referral unit, and it is a 30-bedded hospital. And higher order public hospitals at sub-district and district hospitals, that as and when the need of the case or when you feel it has to directly go to the tertiary care center, you can directly send also. It has 4 to 6 indoor beds for patients. That means the PHCs we have 4 to 6 beds, CHCs 30 beds, like that. We have different levels. Medical colleges are also having certain guidelines from the MCI how many beds they should have for the number of intake of the medical students. And coming to the standards, what are they? They are a means of describing the level of quality that healthcare organizations are expected to meet or aspire to. So when you start a PHC, what standards you should maintain? What should be the building like? What should be the different departments or the sizes of the rooms? And what is the equipment needed? The manpower needed? And other extra paraphernalia needed for running it in a standard way. So key aim of these standards, why we need this, is to underpin the delivery of the quality services. The services we deliver should be of good quality, which are fair and responsive to clients' needs. So first thing is identifying the client's needs, and you should respond to them. Provided equitably, and they should be provided equitably, and deliver improvements in the health and well-being of the population. So aims have to be met with the standards or the quality maintained. The performance of healthcare delivery organizations can be assessed against the certain standards. You have a benchmark sort. The National Rural Health Mission, now it is called National Health Mission, NHM, has provided the opportunity to set Indian public health standards for health centers functioning in rural areas. So, in order to provide optimal level of quality healthcare, a set of standards called the Indian Public Health Standards were recommended for PHCs in early 2007. So, IPHS standards were set up in early 2007. The nomenclature of a PHC varies from state to state. And coming to setting up of the standards, it is a dynamic process. Currently, IPHS for primary healthcare centers has been revised, keeping in view the resources available with respect to functional requirements for PHCs having 6 beds with minimum standards such as the building, manpower, instruments, equipment, drugs and other facilities. The revised IPHS has incorporated the changed protocols of the existing health programs and new programs and initiatives, especially in respect of non-communicable diseases. The non-communicable diseases is gaining more importance nowadays depending on the lifestyle and other things. And coming to the objectives, what are they? To provide comprehensive primary health care to the primary community through the PHCs. And secondly, to achieve and maintain an acceptable standard of quality of care, and also to make the services more responsive and sensitive to the needs of the community. So, with these objectives, the standards are laid. And coming to whatever the services available at the PHC, for meeting the IPHS from service delivery angle, PHCs may be of 2 types. They are divided into 2 types. And the type A is where it depends on the delivery caseload. That's the main criteria. The delivery load of less than 20 deliveries in a month is called type A PHC, and 20 and above deliveries are occurring in a month, it is type B PHC. And all the following services, whatever we are supposed to provide, are divided as essential and desirable. Essential is minimum assured services. Desirable is we are happy if we have that, which all states UTs aspire to achieve at this level of facility. You can upgrade the standards. It is left to you. But minimum is what is called essential. And essential medical care is IPDs, OPDs and other things, and emergency management also. Coming to the OPDs, a total of 6 hours of OPD services, out of which 4 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon for 6 days a week. Whereas the time schedule can vary from state to state. Or suppose, for example, we are running our rural health center, which is equivalent to the PHC in Pashumamla area, where we are managing from morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it depends. With 1 hour lunch gap between 1 to 2, we are staying almost till 9 to 4. Minimum OPD attendance, what a doctor is supposed to see is at least 40 patients in a day. In addition to 6 hours of duty at the PHC, the PHC medical officer shall spend at least 2 hours per day, twice in a week, that is 4 hours in a week, for field duties and monitoring, that is attending to the sub-centers or other activities. 24 hours emergency services we are supposed to attend, and there the appropriate management of injuries and accidents, first aid, stitching of wounds, incision and drainage of the abscess, stabilization of the patient's condition before referring, and the emergencies like the dog bite, snake bite, scorpion bite, etc., appropriately managed with the vaccines and the anti-snake venom, immunoglobulins and vaccines we are supposed to store and refer depending on the need. And other emergency conditions like the poisoning, etc. And these services will be provided primarily by the nursing staff. That is, nursing staff are trained in taking care of the emergency as well as the general OPD routine works. However, in case of need, medical officer may be available to attend the emergencies on call basis. Suppose middle of the night a case with the snake bite comes, the resident medical officer will be attending. In the meantime, the nurse is instructed to take care. and then referral services, inpatient services for the 6 beds, etc. And next, after the medical OPDs, next is the main aim of these PHCs is giving good maternal and child health care, including family planning. And the essential things are antenatal care, intrapartum, and then the postnatal care. Early registration of all pregnancies during antenatal period, ideally in the first trimester, that is before 12th week of pregnancy, is advised. Why? Because we can have a proper tracking, monitoring, and you can advise them, catch them young, so that you can give them all the advices and treat problems like anemia from the early stages. But it doesn't mean if a woman is coming late, we are going to refuse. No. Even then we register. She should be registered and care given to her according to her gestational age. And suppose if tobacco use is there or something like in areas like the Srikakulam district, you are supposed to mandatorily take, but it is advised every PHC when you are taking an antenatal case, record tobacco use by all the antenatal mothers. Minimum 4 antenatal checkups are provided, and complete package of the services. And suggested schedule for antenatal visits are: first visit is within 12 weeks, preferably as soon as pregnancy is suspected or confirmed, for registration of pregnancy and first antenatal checkup. Second visit is 14 to 26 weeks. Third is between 28 to 34 weeks. And fourth is between 36 weeks to term or till delivery. So, minimum 4 antenatal checkups. Whereas in case of emergency, we may have to, high risk cases, we may have to ask them to come for more visits. And along with that, the associated services like iron, folic acid supplements, TT injections are to be taken care of. TD is what we are giving nowadays, not TT. And ensure at least one ANC, preferably the third visit, must be made by a doctor. Minimum laboratory investigations like hemoglobin, urine albumin and sugar, and the screening tests for syphilis, HIV, HBsAg, etc., and blood grouping and RH typing, and CT-BT, and these are the minimum. And RBS we try to do regularly. If the case is known case of GDM, again it comes under high risk and we manage accordingly. Nutrition and health counseling, brief advice on tobacco cessation if the antenatal mother is a smoker or tobacco user, and also inform about dangers of passive smoking or second-hand smoking. Identification and management of high-risk pregnancies and labor. Timely referral of such identified cases to first referral units, other hospitals which are beyond the capacity of medical officer in PHCs to manage. So, timely referral is needed so that we can avoid the complications. Tracking of missed and left out antenatal cases, chemoprophylaxis for malaria and high malaria endemic areas for pregnant women as per NVB DCP, National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program guidelines. And the intranatal care, after antenatal, next is intranatal. The 24-hour delivery services, both normal and assisted, should be available. Promotion of institutional deliveries is the main reason, and we should know how to manage a normal delivery. Assisted vaginal deliveries including forceps, vacuum, whenever is needed, including episiotomy, etc., and manual removal of placenta. These are all the basic things expected, essential. Appropriate and proper referral for cases needing specialist care. Suppose there may be a problem even during delivery. There may be fetal distress, or there may be a oblique lie or something you diagnose at that time. Whatever is in there are so many emergencies during labor also. So we have to promptly refer. And management of pregnancy-induced hypertension and referring them if there is a need. Pre-referral managements, like before referring, what first aid you can do. That's called obstetric first aid. That need expert assistance, training of staff for emergency management. We have to ensure. We should send them for regular training programs. Minimum 48 hours of stay after delivery in the PHC. Managing labor using partograph. So the nurse should be taught about how to interpret or use the partograph. Proficient in identification and basic first aid treatment for PPH, eclampsia and sepsis, and prompt referral as per antenatal care and skilled birth attendance at birth guidelines. So they should be able to diagnose when we call it a PPH, what are the basic first aid treatments given. For the eclampsia, you should know the medicines and how to manage, and then the sepsis also. And after intranatal care, postnatal care, essential things are ensure postnatal care for 0 and 3rd day at the health facility, both for mother and newborn, and sending direction to the ANM of the concerned area for ensuring 7th and 42nd day postnatal home visits. 3 additional visits per low birth weight babies, that is less than 2.5 kgs. This is to make out any early problems and neonatal jaundice continuing or like that, or any feeding difficulties, etc. This is done on 14, 21st and 28 days. So 7th and 42 is mandatory for all. If LBW baby is there, 14th, 21st and 28th, weekly once, the ANM is asked to go and see the baby. Initiation of early breastfeeding, initiation within 1 hour of the birth. Counseling to the mother and the attendants on nutrition, hygiene, contraception, essential newborn care, and immunization of the newborn according to the National Immunization Program schedule. And others like provision of the facilities under Janani Suraksha Yojana and tracking of missed and left out postnatal care cases. And after the mother's care, coming to the newborn care, essential things are newborn care and resuscitation, ENBC. Newborn care corner is a must in the labor room and OT. Early initiation of breastfeeding within 1 hour. Management of neonatal hypothermia, that is, you must have a warmer, or you must know about the kangaroo mother care. The staff must be able to instruct the mother and father how to keep the baby warm. Infection protection, cord care, and identification of sick newborn and prompt referral. So you should be able to know the sick newborn, how to identify the signs and symptoms and refer. And next is care of the child after the newborn. The routine and emergency care of sick children, including integrated management of neonatal and childhood illnesses, that is IMNCI strategy, and inpatient care. Prompt referral of sick children requiring specialist care. So counseling on exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, and that means you advise the mother, we should all tell that according to IPHS standards, 6 months and appropriate and adequate complementary feeding from 6 months of age while continuing breastfeeding. That is, breastfeeding is continued in addition to complementary feeding. Assess the growth and development of the infants and under 5 and make timely referral. That is, maintaining growth chart. Full immunization of all infants and children against vaccine preventable diseases as per Government of India guidelines. Tracking of vaccination dropouts. Vitamin A prophylaxis to the children as per our government's guidelines. Prevention and control of routine childhood diseases like infections like pneumonia, diarrhea and anemia, etc. Malnutrition. Management of severe acute malnutrition cases and referral of serious cases after initiation of treatment as per facility based guidelines. So these are, that is, you want to see that the growth and development of the child is not hampered, so you want to catch them early and manage them properly. And next is family welfare. Difference between family welfare and family planning. In family welfare, we cover even the infertile couple. So, what are all the things we cover in this program? Education, motivation and counseling to adopt appropriate family planning methods, depending on whether it is providing gap between child to child, or you have finished the family and go for a permanent method. Provision of contraceptives such as condoms, that is the temporary methods, oral pills, emergency contraceptives, intrauterine contraceptive device insertions, etc. Referral and follow-up of services to the eligible couple adopting permanent methods like tubectomy and vasectomy. Counseling and appropriate referral for couple having infertility. And permanent methods like tubal ligation and vasectomy where trained personnel and facility exists. That is, in the PHC level itself, if you have the facilities, you can conduct camps or fix a day for performing the family planning permanent method surgeries. And next is MTPs. Medical termination of pregnancy, it is essential. Counseling and appropriate referral for safe abortion services, you must know for those in need. You should know if they have come for MTP, you should not refuse. Try to do, if you have the facilities, or refer them to the place where the next referral center. And the desirable, this is essential. Desirable is MTP using manual vacuum aspiration technique will be provided in PHCs where trained personnel and facility are existing. Medical method of abortion with linkage for timely referral to the facility approved for second trimester of MTP. So not only first trimester MTPs, suppose there is a congenital anomaly or some problem, IUD, something like that, you should be able to do the second trimester MTPs also, or refer to the proper center. Management of reproductive tract infections and STIs, this is essential. Health education for prevention of RTI and STI, treatment of RTI and STIs is essential under IPHS. Nutritional services has to be coordinated in coordination with ICDS, this is also essential. Diagnosis of nutrition, advice to malnourished children. So you must be able to diagnose a malnourished child, whether it is micro or macro deficiency or problem, and then pregnant women and others also you try to diagnose. Diagnosis and management of anemia and vitamin A deficiency, and coordination with ICDS. School health teachers, next is school health. So after covering antenatal, newborn children, next we are coming to the school going children. School health teachers are involved. They screen the students on a continuous basis, and the ANMs and the health workers, a team of 2 workers, visit the schools, 1 school every week, for screening, treatment of minor ailments and referring. Doctors from CHCs and PHCs will also visit 1 school per week based on the screening reports submitted by the teams. Overall service to be provided under this school health shall include essential health service provision. So it is, school health is also essential. How it is managed? It is managed with the help of the teachers, ANMs and health workers. And here what are all the things done? Screening, health care given if possible, refer if there is a need. Suppose a baby has a dental caries, so you diagnose. If there is pain, you put the baby on the antibiotics, treat and refer for further management to a dentist to the tertiary center or the next referral center. Screening of general health, assessment of anemia and nutritional status, vision, hearing problems, dental checkup, dermatological conditions, heart defects, and physical disabilities, and also we attend to learning disorders and behavior problems at the PHC level, and basic medicines to take care of common ailments prevalent among young school going children, and referral cards for priority services at district and sub-district hospitals can be provided by the PHC. And immunization as per national schedule, it should be, usually it is done at the PHC on a fixed day activity every second Wednesday or every Wednesday, depending on the load of the people, and coupled with education about the issue. So you must be able to counsel them, educate them. And micronutrient deficiency management like vitamin A and iron and folic acid, weekly supervised distribution of iron and folate tablets, coupled with education about this issue, like about the dietary issues also you tell, administration of vitamin A in needy cases. And next is deworming, biannually it is done, supervised schedule is followed, and IAC is taken, and siblings of students are also covered under deworming. Capacity building, monitoring and evaluation has to be done. So you must be able to build the staff who can help you in the IPHC, should have that facility, and they should monitor the works of the people under the PHC and evaluate them. And midday meal in coordination with the Department of School Education, Ministry of Human Resource Development. This is also part of the PHCs. And what are desirable in school health programs? Health promoting in schools like counseling services, regular practice of yoga, physical education, health education, etc. Peer leaders as health educators. So select a few among the school students only, and they are given instructions, they are trained, and they should work as health educators. Adolescent health education existing in few places. So next to this primary school and middle school, next is you are going to talk about the adolescent health. Linkages with the out of school children is also to be taken place. Health clubs, health cabinets, first aid rooms or corners or clinics to be established in the schools. And after the school, adolescent health care is, it has to be provided preferably through adolescent friendly clinics at least for 2 hours once a week on a fixed day. Services should be comprehensive, that is judicious mixture of promotive, preventive, curative and referral services, core package. This is essential. It comes, adolescent health care, able to give a comprehensive service is essential. Adolescent and reproductive health, about that information, counseling. Many people will have many doubts and formed opinions. This is essential. And services related to sexual concerns, pregnancy, contraception, abortion and menstrual problems, etc. are covered. Services for TT immunization and other immunizations for the youth, adolescents. Nutritional counseling, prevention and management of nutritional anemia, STA and RTI management, and referral services for VCTC and PPT-CT services, and services for safe termination of pregnancy if not available at the PHC. So these are all part of the adolescent health care. And what are optional or additional? As per local need, outreach services in schools. So that is arranging the camps, and this is optional. And periodic health checkups and health education activities, like you conduct one special day to teach them about certain national programs or about the importance of, suppose adolescent we take, so teaching them about the values of life and all like that. Awareness generation and co-curricular activities, these are all optional. And the responsibility of Safe drinking water and basic sanitation is also a must. As we know, most of the times public health taking care of the drinking water and sanitation will definitely reduce the basic communicable diseases to a large extent. And the essential in this are disinfection of water sources and coordination with public health engineering department for safe water supply, and promotion of sanitation including use of toilets and appropriate garbage disposal. And after the essential, the desirable are testing of water quality using H2S strip test. This is the bacteriological test. Prevention and control of locally endemic diseases like malaria, Kala-Azar, JE, etc. This is essential. And collection and reporting of vital events is also essential. Health education and behavior change communication. This is BCC is essential. Other national health programs are also to be taken care of, implemented in the PHC level. And next is referral services. So appropriate and prompt referral of cases needing specialist care, including stabilization of the patient. Suppose a patient comes with hypotension, there is bleeding. So you should know how to improve the BP, stabilize the patient, start the IV, and then if there is a bleeder, then try to control it, and then you refer. Appropriate support to patient during transport. Providing transport facilities, suppose oxygen is needed, so you must have a cylinder in the ambulance and then shift. Providing transport facilities either by PHC vehicle or other available referral transport. And one more thing is not just dropping, that our responsibility is not ending there. Drop back home for patients as mandated under Janani Sishu Suraksha JSSK. Training. Essential training parts are imparting training to undergraduate medical students and intern doctors in basic health care, orientation training of male and female health workers in various national health programs including reproductive child health, adolescent health services and immunization. So healthcare personnel including doctors have to be trained. That's why our center in Pachmamla is called Rural Health Training Center, RHTC. Skill-based training to ASHAs, initial and periodic training of paramedics in treatment of minor ailments, and periodic training of doctors and paramedics through CMEs, conferences, skill development trainings. All health staff of PHC must be trained in IMEP. And basic laboratory and diagnostic services. So, whenever we are seeing OPD and IPD, we must also have the lab facility. The minimum routine services which are essential is routine urine, stool, blood test like complete blood test and random blood sugar and the creatinine and urea, etc. And diagnostic of RTI and STDs with wet mounting, gram stain, etc. Sputum testing as per the guidelines of the RNTCP for mycobacterium, blood smear, malarial smears, blood for grouping and RH, and rapid diagnostic kits for malaria in endemic districts, rapid test for pregnancy, and screening test for syphilis, yaws, surveillance, HIV, etc. Rapid test kit for fecal contamination of water, estimation of chlorine level of water using orthotolidine reagent, blood sugar. These are all basic essential things. Desirable are blood cholesterol and ECG. But ECG also I would like to put it under essential, because if the patient comes with the pain and then ECG is showing changes, you can immediately refer. We call that golden hour, the first hour. Case is immediately referred for further management. And next is validation of reports. Periodic validation of laboratory reports should be done with external agencies like District PHC, Medical College for quality assurance. So quality assurance to maintain the standards. Periodic calibration of laboratory and PHC equipment is also needed. And after the lab test and all, it's the monitoring and supervision. And under monitoring, essential activities of the sub-center are to be monitored, supervised by regular meetings, periodic visits. Health assistant male and the lady health visitor and medical officer, they have to see that they have regular monitoring and supervision of the sub-centers. And next is monitoring of all national health programs by medical officer with support of the subordinate staff. Monitoring activities of ASHA by lady health visitor. And ANM in her sub-center area. So ASHAs, you should know what is their role, and they are being managed by they are being monitored by the LHV and ANMs. And health educator will monitor all IEC and BCC activities. Usually medico-social workers are there, they take care of these things. Health assistants, male and LHV should visit sub-centers once in a week at least. Checking for tracking of missed out and left out ANC and PNCs, or those who are not attending for vaccination regularly. During monitoring visits and quality parameters, including use of partograph, etc., during delivery and post-delivery is an essential baby care, all these things. You have to, when you are going for the monitoring and supervision, you have to do this also. Timely payment of JSY beneficiaries and timely payment of TADA for the ASHAs. Suppose they will be accompanying whenever a pregnant lady is referred to a higher center and dropping her back. For that, there is incentives given to them, TADA, everything that has to be paid promptly. And what are desirable? Medical officers should visit all sub-center at least once in a month. This will be possible only when there is one more supporting hand for him. That is, minimum 2 medical officers are posted in a PHC. This can be taken care. And functional linkages with the sub-centers, it's essential. There shall be a monthly review meeting at PHC chaired by medical officer, attended by all health workers and health assistants, spot supervisory visits to sub-centers, surprise visits, and organizing village health and nutrition days at Anganwadi centers. And next is, we have addition of these Ayush doctors, that is Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha and Homeo. This is mainstreaming. This is also being introduced in addition to the modern medicine doctors. So, what is all desirable? Provision of 1 Ayush doctor and 1 Ayush pharmacist in PHC to provide choices to the people whether to select the modern medicine or Ayurveda, Homeo, etc. Public facility is not available in the nearby vicinity. Suppose you don't have private doctors catering to Ayurveda and Unani, you must be able to provide in the PHC. Ayush doctor at PHC shall attend patients for system-specific Ayush-based preventive, promotive and curative health care and take up public health education activities including awareness generation about the uses of medical plants and local health practices. So, suppose yoga is there, it's more of a promotive and also you can try to treat or prevent certain diseases. So, that way you have to promote or mainstream the Ayush. The signboard of the PHC should mention about the Ayush facilities. Ayush doctors should support in implementation of the national health programs after requisite training if required. So, they must also be given a basic knowledge about the national health programs and about the modern medicine, usage of the lab tests and all, they should also be aware. and locally available medicinal herbs and plants should be grown around the PHC. And next, coming to the surgical part. So there many PHCs do minor surgeries like the vasectomy, tubectomy, MTP, hydrocelectomy, or sebaceous cyst removal, or a lipoma removal, or IND, incision and drainage, etc. And these major surgeries like these family planning surgeries, better to have a fixed day approach, and the OT has to be maintained properly. During all these surgical procedures, universal precautions will be adopted to ensure there is prevention of the infection. Record of vital events and reporting. So, this is essential. Recording and reporting of vital statistics including births and deaths, maintenance of all the relevant records concerning services provided in the PHC. So, now total number of ANC cases, referral cases, normal deliveries done, about the immunization, everything we maintain the records. Maternal death review, it is desirable, it's not essential. Facility based MDR shall be conducted at the PHC. Further, there is a format. Accordingly, you try to review the maternal death if at all it happens. And next is coming to the building or the infrastructure. PHC should have a building of its own, surroundings should be clean, location should be central, and it should be accessible easily. సో ఎక్కడో కొండ మీద కట్టుకొని మిగతా ఎవరు రాకుండా ఉండడానుకుంటే ఇట్స్ అ వేస్ట్. సో ఫస్ట్ యూ ఐడెంటిఫై ది సెంటర్, దెన్ యూ ప్లాన్ ది పిహెచ్సి. అండ్ వన్స్ యూ హ్యావ్ ది బిల్డింగ్, అన్నీ ఒకదానికొకటి యాడ్ అవ్వాలన్నమాట. ఎక్విప్మెంట్ అండ్ ఫర్నిచర్, the necessary equipment to deliver the assured services of the PHC, they should be available, and it should be in adequate quantity, and also they should be in a functional condition. You keep a machine, a X-ray which is not working, or a ECG which is not functional, and you have an artery which you can't even open and close, there is no point. Equipment maintenance, annual maintenance should be given special attention. Periodic stock taking of equipment and preventive round the year maintenance will ensure proper functioning of the equipment. That is, periodically keeping a check, ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయి, ఏం లేదు, ఏ కండిషన్లో ఉంది, దీనికి ఏమైనా రిపేర్ అవసరమా, we have to change the battery, all these things you should see. Backup should be made available wherever possible. So you are sending ECG machine for repair, you must see that you have one more so that the patient is taken care of properly. Okay, you have the building, you have the machinery, but you have the people to run it also. That's the manpower. To ensure round-the-clock access to public health facilities, PHCs are expected to provide 24-hour service with basic obstetric and nursing facilities. Under NHM, PHCs are being operationalized for providing 24/7 services in various phases by placing at least 3 staff nurses in these facilities. So you must have minimum 3 staff nurses. If the caseload is there, operationalizing 24/7 PHC may be undertaken in a phase-wise manner according to availability of the manpower. And this is expected to increase the institutional deliveries. Why we are doing this? So that we are trying to improve the people attending the hospitals for delivering, which would help in reducing. Why? Because it will reduce the MMR, maternal mortality, newborn deaths, and then infant mortality rate, etc. From service delivery angle, PHCs may be there of 2 types. We have read in the initial stage only, A and B, and that you know, it's again only repetition. Less than 20, 20 plus above. And this is the chart showing the Minimum manpower needed, the doctors, medical officers, data entry operators, pharmacist, AYUSH, nursing midwife, health worker, health assistants, health educators, lab technicians, cold chain and vaccine logistic assistants, multi-skilled group D workers, sanitary worker come watchmen, and then even the ambulance drivers. All these things are a must. And you have everything, then you must have the medicines also. Suppose you are conducting a camp and you are just referring, they don't keep quiet. You have to distribute the drugs also. The same way, when they come for a problem, you should know what are all the essential drugs we should have. IPHS has set up certain standards. The lists are there. When we go through, we know what are all the medicines we have to keep also. And whatever the drugs are available in the sub-center should be available in the PHC also. And as per the state and union territory essential drug list, the drugs are made available. In addition, all the drugs required for the national health programs, suppose anti-leprosy, RNTCP programs, you must have all those drugs. And emergency management should be available in adequate quantities so as to ensure completion of treatment by all the patients. So you suppose you have to give a course of antibiotic for 5 days, you just can't give 2 and ask them to purchase, or ask them to, even if you ask them to come again, we don't know how many will come. So that way we will be increasing the risk of what? Antibiotic resistance. Facilities for local purchase of drugs in time of epidemics and outbreaks, emergencies should also be made available. Drugs of that discipline of AYUSH, suppose you are having a AYUSH doctor, you must keep, if he is an Ayurvedic doctor, the PhD should have a Ayurvedic medicines. If he is a Siddha system doctor, those medicines should be available. Homeo, that should be available. And next is, referral is prompt and it has to be done regularly. So transport is a must. Transport vehicle, transport drivers and all is a must. And transport facilities with assured referral linkages, referral transport facility. Desirable that the PHC has ambulance facilities for transport of patients for timely and assured referral to functional first referral units in case of complications during pregnancy and childbirth. This may be outsourced also through government or PPP mode or linkage with emergency transport systems like 108, 104, etc. And laundry. Naturally, the linen has to be, soil linen has to be cared. Laundry services for clean linen shall be made for admitted patients. At least 5 sets shall be made available, and it can be in-house or a outsourced service. Dietary facilities for indoor patients is desirable, not essential. Nutritious and well-balanced diet shall be provided to all IPD patients, keeping in mind their cultural preferences. So you should ask whether you are a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian, you have roti, like that. Accordingly, if you can provide, it is desirable, it's not essential. A suitable arrangement with a local agency like a local women's group, NGOs or self-help group for provision of nutritious and hygienic food at reasonable rates may be made wherever feasible and possible. So whenever possible, you try to make the arrangement or have to try to have a canteen facility in the premises. And next is waste management, biomedical waste management and general waste management. Guidelines for healthcare workers for waste management and infection control in primary health centers, they are to be followed properly. And next is the quality assurance. Periodic skill development training is essential. Standard treatment protocols for all national health programs and locally common diseases should be made available. Regular monitoring is another important means. A few aspects that need definite attention are interaction and information exchange with the client or patient. So have a suggestion box or ask them, are you comfortable or you want some change? Courtesy should be extended to patients, clients by all the health providers, including the support staff. And all relevant information should be provided as regards the condition, illness of the client or the patient. So you must be able to give them the information and take the consent for certain procedures whenever needed. Attitude of the healthcare providers need to undergo a radical change so as to incorporate the feeling that client is important and needs to be treated with respect. సో పేషెంట్ని గౌరవంగా చూసుకోవడం, విలువ ఇవ్వడము, వాళ్ళకి అవసరమైన ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ చెప్పడము అనేది ముఖ్యం. Cleanliness should be maintained in all the areas. So, monitoring of the PHC functioning, this is also important. Quality is maintained and also make changes whenever there is a need. And internal mechanism and external mechanisms, there are two methods. Internal ఏంటంటే record maintenance, checking and supervision, medical audit, death audit of patient satisfaction surveys for both OPD and inpatient. So different audits we have. Record maintenance has to be monitored. Evaluation of complaints and suggestions received. ఆ డబ్బాలో వేసినవి మళ్ళీ చెత్తబుట్టలో వేయకుండా చూసుకుని దానిలో ఏమైనా హెల్ప్ఫుల్గా ఉందంటే మనం ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయగలగాలి. External mechanisms are monitoring through the Panchayat Raj, Village Health Sanitation and Nutrition Committee, Rogi Kalyan Samiti, Community Monitoring Framework, etc. as per the government guidelines or the state government or central government guidelines. Format for conducting facility survey for the PHCs to have baseline information on the gaps in comparison to IPHS standards and subsequently to monitor the availability of the facilities as per IPHS guidelines is available. So నీ దగ్గర ఏమున్నాయి, IPHS ఏం అడుగుతుంది, నీకు డిఫిషియన్సీ ఏముంది చూసుకుని you must be able to fill the gaps. And accountability. Accountability has to be ensured. The charter of patients' rights should be made available in each PHC. Every PHC should have a Rogi Kalyan Samiti, PHC's management committee for improvement of the management and service provision of the PHC. Committee will have the authority to generate its own funds through users charges, donation, etc. and utilize the same for service improvement of the PHC. So the other review, PRA and Village Health Sanitation and Nutrition Committee, Rogi Kalyan Samiti లాంటివి కూడా మానిటర్ చేయాలి PHC functioning. They have authority to come and ask if something is not being done properly. Statutory and regulatory compliance, PHC shall fulfill all the statutory and regulatory requirements and comply to all the regulations issued by the local bodies, state and Union of India. So within the law abiding conditions law, they have to be done. PHC shall have copy of these regulations and acts. So first you should be aware, the PHC people should know all the rules and regulations. So thank you. Hope this was quite a lengthy lecture, but still this is essential. You go through it. It is divided into like the infrastructure, the equipment and then the furniture, the manpower and then the standards like the OPD you are seeing, how many you will be seeing, IPD 6 beds, how to manage. So availability of the medicines, drugs and then the Ayush, and next is biomedical waste management, linen, food, nutrition and the extramural or the outsourcing, outreaching services like the school health, conducting of the camps, going to the sub-centers and seeing. In a nutshell, these are all the things we have covered in IPHS PHCs. Thank you, children.